And the last real conversation we had was him talking about Baby Jackie and him talking about how he made so many different changes. Him talking about
and we're back, people. We are back. Your favorite, and I swear I'm not lying when I say this, I'm always truthful. Your favorite sports podcast, roaming the airwaves, rolling with Ramos, is back. I happen to be, as I always am, America, the one with the last name Ramos. I would like to personally thank my daddy for that one. Episode 54. You know, we paid homage to a lot of Chicago Bears, a lot of defensive-minded Chicago Bears from the Windy City.
In his 3 years with the Redskins.
We shouted out Khalil Mack. This one goes to the originator. I don't know if you like him with hair or without hair. We prefer him without hair. Episode 54, the Brian Urlacher edition.
And then
now,
just the impact that he had on
the
lives of friends and family and teammates
and
coaches. I think that's why. Because it's something you asked me earlier, why you think we still talking about him to this day.
Today. But when he is not
just
here,
compared to other people that
Ramos
passed. I mean, this guy is someone that,
additional
like you said, we never forget about. And this happened in
that
2007,
enables people from all walks of life to tell their story.
And it doesn't get easy. 11 years ago, it doesn't get easy.
Carl Nelson.
And when you,
I hope this is.
I grew up
the beginning.
You know America. You know I'm a Washington Redskins fan. Never going to change. If I could bleed blood,
people that we know in common.
It would probably be burgundy and gold. But anyways,
I'm not blaming myself.
Sean Taylor growing up.
You blaming me?
And the way he played, he would be on the other side of the field, and he would come out of nowhere. Shout out to
Thank
Trae.
you. I'm happy to be here.
Because you talking about concussion protocols and all that type of stuff now. Sean Taylor was going to end your career. He played every down like it was his last. He thoroughly enjoyed playing football. He enjoyed the Washington Redskins environment. I mean, if you're talking about Clay, if Clay Matthews is out here talking about referees and flags and roughing the passer now, Sean Taylor would not fit in this world right now. In this football world, when they throw flags, they would have to find flags in other colors for Sean Taylor as the intensity he played. You would not have guys like Cam Chancellor. You would not have those type of guys in this league if it wasn't for Sean Taylor. And I don't think he realized how revolutionary he was as he was playing in his own time. I think what makes Sean Taylor so great in the fact that we remember him so much, of course, his tragic death, of course. But we remember him so greatly is because this was a man that was not even in his prime when he was doing the things that he was doing. Hands down, if not the best safety of this time, one of the best to ever play the game.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely not.
That's an amazing thing to be able to say. Like you said, he wasn't even in his prime when he was doing everything he was doing.
I think this is great, especially with her being a young black woman. In sports, we were talking off the record earlier. The first person you mentioned was Serena Williams, just in terms of what she means to sports. And I think this is truly huge to have someone like her who has had the success. I did not even know that she was the most decorated American gymnast in history. So that's a big feat in itself. And for her to get the keys to the city, like you said, that's exclusive. That's not something that everybody is privy to. I think it's great, and I'm a big fan. So I love it. And I hope her success continues, and that this sends a great message to especially our young black female athletes out there for sure.
Now I don't know how much you've been into gymnastics, but growing up, we had Dominique Dawes. I remember her, and then you also had Gabby Douglas. Burgess, and then now it's Simone Biles. But you're talking about
some points you still lose that game. Oh, that was a game. On Monday Night Football, that was a game. They were number 2 last week. They're number 2 this week. Kansas City Chiefs, they're number 3. They were number 3 last week. The New England Patriots, they climb up a spot to 4 from 5. Los Angeles Chargers, they're in the 7th seed. They were 7 last week. They're 5 this week. The Chicago Bears, everything was good. They were Super Bowl and winning. They are 6. They were 6 last year.
Oh, it's been amazing. I mean, you mentioned Gabby Douglas. That's someone who really got me really interested in watching Olympics, the Olympics, and watching gymnastics specifically. So for Simone to come in and not only do what some of the things that Gabby's accomplished, but look at what she's doing. She's setting the bar even higher. I think it's truly amazing, and like you said, there's nothing that we cannot do. There's really nothing we cannot accomplish out there, so it's great to see. I'm not surprised. I'm just happy
Daniels,
to see it.
27-37, Michael 230 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
Third start in his career, first and 4 Michael
I still can't, but
38 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Ravens take care of the Raiders 34-17. Lamar Jackson helped the Ravens win second straight game. Jackson 14-25, 178 yards, 1 touchdown. He did throw 2 picks on the Browns. Yes, because he's supposed to be a running quarterback, right? He's not supposed to be staying in the pocket. I don't know what John Harbaugh is talking about, but 11 carries, 71 yards, 1 touchdown. Derek Carr, if you will. 16-30. Right.
I think Serena. Matter of fact, I watch women's tennis more than I watch men's tennis because of Serena. Because of Serena. I mean, she's not even. You hear people say that she's not even just the best female athlete, but she's arguably one of the greatest athletes overall. For her to come from having a child, you know,
the top of the NFC East is now a shared situation.
I was going to mention that because she almost lost her life having a child and come back and to accomplish what she's accomplished since then.
So now they become the messiahs of the NFL. Everybody's talking great about him. And let Larry get and tell that Amari was not fair until Jerry Jones got his panties up in a bunch and they played the Washington Redskins and lost. So now everything seems to be coming together for the Cowboys. However, I dare not say it, but I will say it. How about them Cowboys?
You saw the match, the Phil versus Tiger match.
We came out to win. He could have ran. He could have rushed. He could have hit those holes and ran, but he was trying to be a Des Bryant. What are they going to do in terms of
I'm about to say, what do you make of
that? What are they going to do with their offense to revive? That's all I want to see. I'm ready for a new era. This guy comes back. I'm ready for a new era. And then all of a sudden, I'm turning headlines back to
That's great you say that because, you know, I've lived in Baltimore. Are you buying this Cowboys? This ain't an easy place to be. And, you know, with the way the Orioles played, I'm like, oh, hell, look at what the Ravens doing. This is just a predication of what the Ravens are going to be. This is just going to be a bad sports year for the Ravens. The Ravens right now, you're sitting at 6-5. There was a lot of games that I thought that shouldn't have been must-wins too early for the Ravens. You don't want to get them too late until they should make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that you know, some people might try to argue and say it's a little bit too early. I mean, I know it's been two Olympics appearances now where she's had great success. Hopefully in this next one, she has great success again. I know for Gabby Douglas, unfortunately, it seemed like it was kind of cut short, just her reign. But it looks like Simone is here to stay, and she's young. She's still young. So look at what Michael Phelps was able to do. Michael Phelps has stuck around for a long time. So I'm hoping that if Simone is able to remain healthy, hopefully she can be here to stay for a while.
You sit back and play the TV, guess what happens? The Falcons and Saints play. The Saints
and the fact that she's this young and she's on, like I said, only 2 Olympics, and she's been able to accomplish what she's already accomplished. That right there, even if she never stepped foot into a gymnastics gym again, she's already up there with some of the greats.
Something that you can just rush somebody into a hip injury too. We're going to see something playing. We're getting alerts early in the morning before the game. Just make a decision. Matt Ryan, you're ice cold. You're out of there with the shot. I don't know who you are. However, 35-47, 377 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I think that's just a pattern. That's what they do. I mean, even I saw the post game interview. He didn't even address the questions about Lamar Jackson and Flacco.
You don't even want to address this. If we want to, so this is fun. There's a guy named Jalen Ramsey. And if you know Jalen Ramsey, you know he likes to talk a lot of junk.
I know.
He's known, and this must have been Saxonville. He's still riding high off what they did last year. He makes his comment in August on Josh Allen. He's trash. It's gonna show.
This should be quick.
That's a stupid draft. Like to me, the Chargers take care of the Cardinals 45-10. I hope he's there. Starter ties the NFL mark. The Bills beat the Jaguars 24-21. Josh Allen, the highest one that he just had in a game. 8 of 19, 160 yards, 1 touchdown. On the ground, 13 carries, 99 yards, 1 touchdown. 259 yards. Broncos defense forces 4 turnovers. The Steelers, I'm pretty sure they won this 23, 127 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. In times where now they're going to talk about, he was not really as developed. You need a guy like Le'Veon Bell, a veteran in them situations. Back-to-back big wins for the Chargers. For the Jaguars. They just need to shut up. This is over. This is over.
So all types of life.
This one's funny. My co-host who's listening, Tristan, I see you, baby. I know you're going to enjoy this nice little number. Condoleezza Rice didn't have to
Jackie
come
Garcia and
to
their
help the
18-month
Browns
daughter,
because,
Jackie,
you know,
at the time, were not
they beat the
injured.
Bengals
Taylor
35
had
to 20.
extensive
Baker
blood
Mayfield
loss through a
setting rookie
severed
record
artery.
with 4
He would
touchdown
die
passes.
the 22nd.
The Browns surged ahead early as they were 28-0 to start, 0 to start.
Yeah.
You know Hugh Jackson.
Yeah.
He was fired. You know all too well. He was fired a week
directly
ago. But he was watching the action from the Bengals sideline because he's defensive assistant.
It's
I
hard.
mean, that's the place that he should stay.
One other guy,
He
he
ain't
made the statement a long time
want to take
ago,
his
and, we wanna
defensive
hear
prowess, right?
how much we
But
still remember
he
Sean
goes to the
Taylor.
Bengals. He
Brian
watched from the
Clark.
sideline. Not only does he
This was a
lose
year
as a
ago,
head coach,
but
but he
he
also
still sits
loses
to
as
take
an
down.
opposition because Jackson only 3 wins in 2+ seasons with the Browns. That means he should have been fired.
You know, our relationship.
He couldn't win
was-
neither as the opposition. Baker
was different.
Mayfield, 19-26,
You know,
258 yards for the young boy, 4 touchdowns. He says
I was really
people.
young at
He
the
says
time.
that the Browns
When
have
we got
people
there
that
together,
we believe in calling the plays
and,
now.
you know, when we
Shot
started
fired.
playing together,
His stats the last
it was
3
a- it
weeks
was-
tell
it
that
was a
story.
friendship
4 coaching
that,
change. He was 58%
for me, it started out, he was like my little brother,
6.6
and then
yards
we just
per
got
attempt.
really
He was
close.
8 and 6
Because I was
from touchdown
married
to interception
really
in
early, you know,
Philadelphia
he
and
wasn't,
Chicago.
and so
He
we'd come over
outplays
and
one
he
of the
would eat.
league's
And I
top
remember
earning QBs.
my wife had seen him play before she met him.
Daniels,
and
27,
he was
37,
walking
230
out
yards,
of
2 touchdowns.
Redskins
Third
Park,
start in
and
his career, first
he just stopped by the car, and he was like,
Matthew
"Hi, Miss
Stafford,
Clark, nice
28
to
of
meet
38,
you." And I get in the car, and my wife's like,
touchdowns.
"Who is that?"
LeGarrette
Sitting
And I was like,
down,
"That's
eating
Sean
that
Taylor."
first or second-
And she was
second
like,
meal,
"The
over
crazy
time
one?"
that second
I was
game
like,
was
"Yeah."
rolling. The
And
first game, I'm kind
his
of
spirit,
what I remember from that
and
game,
you know, like Lou said, a
was
lot of
Stafford
people
throwing an
felt like
interception.
he was
When he had
family
opportunity
and
to
he was
tie
a friend.
he was right,
And
right
it
in the
wasn't
end zone.
fake.
Threw an
You
interception
know,
in the
he
zone,
was going to be the
23-16.
same person
They had
every
opportunity
day,
to tie the
day
game.
in, day out.
So that was
And
really unfortunate.
the
thing
people
for-
close to him,
for Detroit.
and I know Luke can attest to this,
All
you
right,
would get upset
so
when
this
you
one.
hear
Now
other
you
people
might
talk
get
about
had
it
finish
because they
first
were
plate.
wrong about it.
And then you
And the
muscle
last
enough in your
real
system
conversation we
to
had
maybe
was
have some
him
dessert.
talking
He had
about
some
Baby
pie,
Jackie
he had
and
some
him talking
cake.
about
I don't care if
how
any
he
of
made
you
so
think
many
that you're
different
Grimace. So
changes, him talking about accepting the Savior and just different things. And I was just so happy and I was so proud of him. And then I remember sitting on the steps because I just got out the hospital when he passed. I'm sitting on the steps and my son is like, Jordan was like, "Dad,
because this
what
guy's
happened to
been
Uncle
doing
Sean?"
that. So now they become the
You know, and
messiahs of the
that
NFL. Everybody's talking
conversation
great about him. And
to
let
this
Ivory
day is
Gale
still
tell
one of
that
the
Amari
hardest
Cooper was not acquired until
conversations
30 Jones
I've
yard
ever
field
had. To
goal
talk
as
about
time
it
played
now
by
is
Chris
hard.
lost. We still
So
talking
Because
now everything seems to be
there-
coming
there-
together
there's
for the
some losses
Cowboys.
that
However,
are
I dare not say it, but I will say, how about the Cowboys? I guess
told you that was
they.
This one right here on Sunday night.
You know what's interesting? I just want to just piggyback off something that Ryan Clark just said. I think it's interesting that he didn't even talk about Sean Taylor as a football player. He was talking about him as a friend and just as a person. Obviously, we know that as a football player, this is a guy who 2 Pro Bowls in his 3 years with the Redskins, 3 years in the league. Just a lot of success on the field, but the fact that he had that balance between being extremely successful in high school, college, and then in the pros for that short stint that he was here with us, and then just the impact that he had on the lives of friends and family and teammates and coaches. I think that's why, because it's something you asked me earlier, you know, why do you think we're still, you know, talking about him to this day, just compared to other people that passed. I mean, this guy is someone that, like you said, we never forget about, and this happened in 2007, 11 years ago.
Down the drain as they go down the drain. This is a division that says 6-5 in shambles. Can you believe this crap? Anyways, I don't know why we all continue to watch Saints games.
Probably because burgundy and gold. But anyways,
however, after you finish your nice little
the way he
cake
played,
pie,
like the way he played,
you might have decided to go back for another plate, or you guys decide to be a family, talk about old times and what your cousins used to do back in the day. You sit back in front of the TV, guess what happened? The Falcons and the Saints played. The Saints demoralized the Falcons. I don't know what's going on in Atlanta. 31-17. The Saints continue to be
thoroughly enjoyed playing football,
winning their 10 straight and eliminating the Falcons from any contention in the NFC South. Not only did they lose to the Browns, they lose in this fashion. Drew Brees, 15-22, 171 yards.
Sean Taylor would not fit in this world right now.
4 touchdowns, though.
In this football world, when they throw
Matt Ryan, you're ice cold. You're out of there. You're shot. I don't know who you are. However, 35-47, 377 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
That's good news for me because my Baltimore Ravens,
and I don't think he realized how revolutionary he was.
He looks like he got a nice little easy easy one coming up.
I think what makes Sean Taylor so great in the fact that we remember him so much, of course,
if we want to, so this is funny.
We remember him.
There's a guy named Jalen Ramsey.
This was a man.
And if you know Jalen Ramsey, you know he likes to talk a lot of junk.
He's
He's known, and this must have been Saxonville. He's still riding high off of what they did last year. He makes this comment in August on Josh Allen. He's trash.
Yeah, I mean that's an amazing thing to be able to say. Like you said, he wasn't even in his prime when he was doing everything he was doing on the field. It's different. Like I'm a Ravens fan, so when you think about like people, when you think about people like Ray Lewis, right, who spent over 15 years in the NFL, it makes sense when you look at someone like him and see the respect that he gets. When you got a guy like this, Sean Taylor, who with 3 years, right, 3 years with the Redskins, and he's got this type of respect, it just speaks volumes to who he was on that field.
12 of 23, 127 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Leonard Fournette, he was there, 18 carries, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was ejected from this game. It was a nice little brawl.
That was amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And like you said, you got, I'm not trying to get you upset here, but like you said, it hasn't been the same. It hasn't been the same with secondary since he's been gone. And that's really crazy to say and to think about. I think some people forget that it's been 11 years. Time flies, and it's amazing when you can talk about someone as if it was just yesterday when you were watching them on that field and having an impact that he had on that field.
0 to start, 0 to start. Hugh Jackson, he was fired. He was fired. He was go, but he was watching the action from the Bengals sideline because he's defensive assistant. I mean, that's the place that he should stay.
Surrounding his death.
Why wouldn't want to take his defensive prowess, right?
Exactly.
But he goes to the Bengals. He's watching the sideline. Not only does he lose as a head coach, but he also loses as an opposition because Jackson only 3 wins in 2+ seasons with the Browns. That means he should have been fired, Carl. He couldn't win neither as an opposition. Baker Mayfield, 19-26, 258 yards for the young boy, 4 touchdowns. He says that the Browns have people that we believe in calling the plays now. Shot fired. His stats the last 3 weeks tell that story. Before coaching changed, 58% completion percentage, 6.6 yards
Absolutely,
per
and people will
attempt.
will continuously see the headlines for the birthdays and for unfortunately the death anniversaries in years to come. So he's not going to be forgotten. That's
they
for
didn't
sure.
even embrace it and look each other.
I think Hugh Jackson was trying to give some type of.
And for him to become what he became in the league.
He's never been his dad.
And he was the 5th overall pick in the draft.
It's almost as if Carl, he's blaming Hugh Jackson for him not being able to take off as much as he wanted to.
Maybe that's what it is, because for me, I've been confused
because Baker Mayfield did not start
Week 13 NFL
That's
power
true. He has been playing
the New Orleans
exceptional
Saints sit at number 1
Hugh Jackson
again. They were number 1
my
last
thing is,
week. The
that's
LA
the point
Rams.
made because
Oh
Hugh
my
Jackson was
God!
fired.
If you
I feel like
saw
people
that
keep
game,
forgetting that he was fired because even John Randall, who got the interception and then handed the ball to
50-40-51,
yeah. That was a shot too. That was him throwing some shade.
They were number 2 last week. They're number 2 this week. Kansas City Chiefs. They're number 3. They were number 3 last week. New England Patriots. They climb up a spot to 4 from 5. Los Angeles Chargers.
Marvin Lewis, his job is on. He's on the hot seat.
I was just about to ask you that because how much longer do you have, brother? Because guess what? The Cincinnati Bengals have. There is no fall from grace. They just have fall in.
Pittsburgh.
Period.
They drop a couple. They were 4 last week. They're 7.
There's nothing good about. And you know what's funny? I thought they won in prime time. I'm thinking they turned the tide, and then they show us who they really are.
And they started the season. I mean, I know I was a little shaky as a Ravens fan. They started the season off pretty strong. But now I think that we're sitting at 6-5, 5-6. It's not looking good for them because our division is always really tight when it comes to the competition.
You think football?
Let's mosey on down the line, shall we? The Patriots. The Patriots clinched their 18th straight season win with 500 with a 500 record veteran. That ranks second in the NFL history to only the Dallas Cowboys, who had 21 in a row from 1965 to 85. They beat the Jets 27-13. As quiet as it's kept. Tom Brady, 20 of 31, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns. He became career leader in total yards passing in the regular season. In playoff games, he also reached 3,000 passing yards for the 16th time, tying Peyton Manning for second in NFL history, and a guy known as Brett Favre, who had 18. It's quiet. People aren't talking about me. This is just the way they like it. This is just the way they like it. Right?
Stafford. What I remember from that game was I don't know how everybody is when it comes to watching football on Thanksgiving. you got 3 games. I'm usually really sitting down, eating that first or second meal by the time that second game is rolling. The first game I'm kind of peeking at, but what I remember from that game was Stafford throwing an interception when they had the opportunity to tie it. He was right in the end zone. Threw interception in the end zone. It was 23-16. They had the opportunity to tie the game. So that was a really unfortunate thing for Detroit. So.
All right. So this one, you might finish your first plate. And then you muscle enough in your system to maybe have some dessert. You have some pie, you have some cake. I don't
care. The Patriots won't be relevant until Tom Brady decides that he's not going to play in a stretcher. They're never not going to be relevant. It is what it is. Whatever. This game was pretty interesting. The Eagles come back. They beat the Giants in the game after that. I know they clearly went back. Clearly they should have won. Jake Elliott kicked a 43-yard field goal with 22 seconds remaining. Eagles trailed 12-0 early at 19-14 in the fourth. They beat the Giants 25-22. Carson Wentz 20-28, 236 yards, 1 touchdown. Josh Adams had a good game. 22 carries, 84 yards, 1 touchdown. I believe in Eli, but maybe you don't. 26-37, 297 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Saquon Barkley, 13 carries, 101 yards, 1 touchdown. Odell Beckham Jr., 5 receptions, 85 yards. There's a pass interference call that I thought
Ezekiel Elliott, he ate up.
No, you know what I was thinking about that game, and what irritated me about that game, and I am the only reason why I watched the Giants is for Odell. But what annoyed me about that game was Saquon Barkley, as you mentioned. This guy he had a great first half. So how do you? I think in the second half, how many touches did he have in the second half? About 3 carries. I just think that's ridiculous. I don't know what the game plan was. Why would you move from him getting all these
Texans win franchise record 8 straight wins.
And Odell was 3 interceptions.
Knowing they were struggling with injuries in the secondary, personally, I would have loved to attack them, but that wasn't it.
Deshaun Watson, 19-24, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Now 9 carries, 7 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, he was there.
You're going nowhere. I just hope you realize, Thomas, this has been great to see. This is your 4 receptions, 38 yards, 2 touchdowns. You got what you asked for. You will be a Giant until they now be a Giant.
I must say, I was able to catch some of the game, and I saw the full highlights.
He deserved the money. He deserved the money.
He's a quarterback.
You know what's interesting? You mentioned in the beginning of your rant, you mentioned Amari Cooper.
The Buccaneers take care of
but it's necessary. It's definitely necessary, especially when you're talking about Dallas Cowboys and Washington Redskins, that rivalry. But Amari Cooper, it's just funny to me that before he came to Dallas, everybody was talking about, should they bring Des Bryant back? What are they going to do in terms of the wide receiver? What are they going to do with their offense to revitalize it? And then this guy comes back, and then all of a sudden I'm reading headlines yesterday and today about all the Cowboys going to be a Super Bowl contender. I never buy the Cowboys. I never buy into the Cowboys juice. And I did when they were 13-3 and they had Dak and they had Zeke. I was rooting for them the boys back then, but it hasn't been a how about them Cowboys lately for me. Not at all.
They've lost 3 straight. The fight update and a 10-game home winning streak is gone. Snap. Austin Rivers and Bradley Beal get into a Carolina missing the playoffs would have been unimaginable. And John Wall when this month started. Scott Brooks having to intervene and John Wall saying words that you don't say. Live reception 107 yards. Gives the middle 1 touchdown. Cam Newton 25 32 Bradley Beal gets into a 2 touchdowns. He did do it taking on the ground with carries 63 yards, including Christian McCaffrey. I've been done with this crap, for lack of better words, for 7 years. It starts top to down. He's helping you a lot. Kelly Oubre Jr., who knew he could say anything? Pretty boy could speak. I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save this joke, but so we're gonna move past. Let's save this best. We're gonna talk about something that's going on in the West. Well, not really the West. Scott Brooks is getting all his fire. Greg is yelling and shouting, making as emotional. Kawhi Leonard was a great player, but dysfunction Kawhi Leonard answer the call, the dysfunctional.
It's just
blow it up.
I guess when you stop playing, they tend to forget how you leave.
January 3rd, the Raptors and Spurs will play. Is this something that the media is starting to blow out of proportion, or do we know what we're dealing with when it comes to 30 rebounds? Kawhi Leonard and Greg Popovich.
You know what? I'm surprised because I made
a rivalry.
That's good news for me because my Baltimore Ravens will be playing the Falcons next. So I'm happy to hear that they look terrible on Thanksgiving Day. We do have an easy one coming up.
Under 500 right now. You know, he's gonna at this point in the game, especially with the East is always you might, if you're in the media, you might not want to. I did not expect it, but obviously we know from last year it's not gonna be on something about them that them acquiring Dwight Howard has been out for most of the season. But yeah, and you know what? We were talking about it before the show, and
we talk a lot about stuff.
But yeah, I mean, and when I read the quote, I didn't really see a major problem because that's how
we're not going to get into that.
Amazing play. Arguably one of the top 3 players in the league when he's healthy. But yeah, you know, he's not a vote prize. I mean, this is to me with LeBron out of the East, this is the perfect time.
And that falls into the Spurs.
That's true. That's a good one. Even though one thing I'll say is this: I hope that they're talking about blowing up. I'm looking at blowing up their team. I don't think they're going to do it because that's the one team that seems to be in the room.
Yep. Suspended for a game too.
Another guy that wasn't
a little brawl.
Try to get someone in the All-Star.
It's funny because I was like, we were talking about a Wizards team where, and it's funny because John Wall just became. It's funny to use John Wall and merge because he's been around for so long, but everybody was starting to pay attention to John Wall. Jay Gibson, I see you, baby. Tristan, my call. Everybody knew who he was. Now everybody knew who the Wizards were. You talking about top 3 team in the East? 35 to 20. Let's get the show pissed off. They couldn't win on the road in the playoffs. I mean, they were gassed out. Everybody Scott Brooks. I mean, when somebody messes up, you talk about Kevin Durant, you talk about Russell Westbrook. They don't take yes. We would not have known what they could do together if it wasn't for Scott Brooks. Scott Brooks' career is like an episode of Cheers. His uncanny ability not to be able to bring in the rest for him.
Needed a job.
But he's looking to the process. He says that this may be the place where I can see this being home. Will Jimmy fly in Philly?
You know, for his sake, I hope so because it didn't pan out in Chicago. You know, he was great in Chicago, didn't pan out, and then him in Minnesota, that whole situation got kind of ugly. But with him being back in the East, being with the process, being in Philly, I think that him being with Ben Simmons and being with Joel Embiid, this is young talent, and these guys are hungry. I think that this could be a good landing spot for him, but it's going to take some time. He's only been on the team for, I guess, a few weeks now, so it's still going to take some time.
Interception ratio. Now that Hugh Jackson shipped out of there, 66% of his completion percentage, 8.8 yards per attempt. He's not.
That's not
Well, you
good.
know, let Tristan Thompson say it. They're still.
How do we feel about the Browns? And this is finally trying to work.
I mean, they look 10 times better than they did last year. That's for sure. But I know the main thing that was there in the headlines since that game was Hugh Jackson in Mayfield. And that little weird exchange with them after the game. What do you think about that? I know you saw that.
I'm not worried about Ben Simmons. He does need to develop a jump shot.
They didn't even
I like Ben Simmons' game a lot.
So
I think Hugh Jackson was trying to give some type of embrace, but Baker Mayfield was not going for
How
that.
long we gotta do to get in the process? Are we in something that's going to be something? Are we staying in it? Because after a while, the process needs to be a decision, and then decision needs to be something that's winning.
Maybe that's what it is. Because for me, I've been confused because
we're not crawling.
That's true, and he has been playing exceptional since Hugh Jackson has been fired. But my thing is, that's a good point that you just made because Hugh Jackson was fired. I feel like people keep forgetting that he was fired because even the guy Randall, who got the interception and then handed the ball to Hugh Jackson on the sideline, that was a shot too. That was him throwing some shade as well. But I mean, this guy was fired, so he had to go and get another job. But yeah, I think that.
Hey.
Exactly.
James loves him.
But hey, look, but you know, Marvin Lewis, his job is he's on the hot seat too. So Hugh Jackson might get in there.
Exactly. But having those two guys and then Joel Embiid, I think this is the perfect time for them to make a run. Boston's not looking good. They're looking shaky.
Oh, Cincinnati.
I think they're just 11 and 10, so they're looking pretty shaky. So really, you just have Toronto to worry about. And in Milwaukee, I don't truly believe in that.
And they started the season off. I mean, I know I was a little shaky as a Ravens fan. They started the season off pretty strong. But now I think we're sitting at 6-5. They're at 5-6.
Oh.
And it's not looking good for them because our our division is always really tight
like his time
when it comes to that competition.
So explain something to me about Markel. Did he get injured, or is he just now? Oh, I need to look. I need to take a look at my
He hasn't been producing. Now the shoulder is coming about now it's something to pay attention to. But they're feeling as though Markel Fultz's departure is time. I mean, that bench you want, 27-13. You may get if you. But who do you? Where do you ship Markel Fultz? Who do you pick up? Who would you want to pick up?
He became career leader in
that's a
total
good question. I
yards
guess
passed,
it's going to really depend on the negotiations because who wants a
3,000
team right now that's looking to
for the
gain some
16th
talent.
time.
Markel
Peyton
Fultz
Manning
has
was second
talent,
in
but right
NFL
now I think
history.
it's very
And a guy
mental
known
for
as
him.
Brett Favre, who had
He's lacking
18.
something up here when it comes to his shot, when it comes to his scoring ability. He's not looking.
I'm happy they're not talking about New England.
Same guy they drafted.
I'm happy they're not talking about New England.
I'm hearing,
I said something to myself not too long ago.
Is going to be speaking to multiple specialists.
Or before the end of the season. But one thing I said to myself about the Patriots, now I know why they're always in the mix, because they always have a chance. It's their division is so weak.
But
the Bills, the Jets.
It's not like the Lakers and Lonzo Ball situation. If I'm always keeping ball right now, Markel Fultz, he's not
We're
showing
giving
us
their
really
ride
anything.
to how
it's
high
time to
they
get
are
something
based
for
on
him
the
if
fact
you can.
that, I mean, it's the
I want
the Jets,
to
the
ask
Bills,
this question,
Miami.
and
I mean, when have you seen those?
You've made a statement.
When's the last time have you
This is
seen
wide open.
either three
As
of
wide
those
open as it
teams
is,
in the
who else
playoffs
going to the
consistently? I can't.
last time.
Right now it's looking like Toronto. Right now it's looking like Toronto.
Tyrod Taylor was.
My prediction was Toronto and Boston in the conference finals. Right now, Boston doesn't.
When Tyrod was there for a little bit, it was some. They were showing us some love at first, but
they need a
the
veteran,
Bills have
and I
been
think that it's time for
pretty
them
bad
also
since.
to say bye-bye to Gordon Hayward. The problem is last year they had Kyrie. Kyrie played for a good chunk of the season, and he was out. Right, at least you know what the team looks like with him in the fold.
The Eagles come back.
But having a guy like Hayward, you really didn't know what it was going to look like when he came back.
He took his warm off. He took his warm off.
And right now, the only thing I don't like is they're taking touches away from Rozier, and they're taking touches away from Jason Taylor.
Carson Wentz,
And last year,
20
that's what you
don't
36 yards, one touchdown. Josh Adams had a good game, 22 carries.
Okay, America. So unless you've been living under a rock, you're not immune to all this Carmelo Anthony talk.
26-37.
Oh, God forbid we continue this ongoing conversation. We all know last show they had me on here looking like Michael Irvin sweating. I will defend Carmelo Anthony to the death for this. I don't know why this will not work. But
you know what I was thinking about that game, and what irritated me about that game, and I am the only reason why I watched the Giants is for Odell. But what annoyed me about that game was Saquon Barkley, as you mentioned. This guy he had a great first half. So how do you? I think in the second half, how many touches did he have in the second half? How many carries? About 3 carries in the second half. I just think that's ridiculous. I don't know what the game plan was. Why would you move from him getting all these carries in the first half and having that type of success to only 3 carries in the second half? And Odell would have 2 catches in the second half?
James Harden and Chris Paul's tag team offense. The Rockets decided to try to separate Anthony.
That was from the start. He throws shots
played with
after
Paul and
every
Harden
game.
on just 37
But when you're the highest paid guy in the league,
4 minutes in his time there. A tiny portion of that, just 12%.
This is your team.
Last season, the Thunder tried something a little bit more inclusive when he was in Oklahoma City, putting Anthony next to Westbrook and Paul George for 1,976 of his 2,501 minutes.
He deserves it, though.
That was 80%.
He needs a quarterback.
Paul refers to, we all know about the banana boats. And, they put him in they all grew up together. LeBron, they're all brothers. LeBron James, Damian Lillard. Guys coming to the aid on Twitter when Anthony was let go from Houston. Wade, they refer to each other as brothers. However, Carl, they hardly played together this season. In the short time together, Paul and Anthony had shared the court. The defense was you stay out of trouble, as we all know.
He's struggled to do that since college. I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough
than Harden and
tough
Paul
feat for him.
without Anthony. With Harden and Paul on the court together, the Rockets are scoring 104.3 points per 100 possessions this season. I gave y'all some numbers, baby. Then last season, that figure was 117 per NBA.com stats. Again, that cannot be pinned on Anthony.
But it was, you're absolutely.
I got more, but I'm gonna let you go.
They've lost 3 straight.
I got more, but I'm gonna let you go.
I was just gonna say that you're absolutely right. It cannot be all pinned on Anthony. He has become the fall guy. I feel like he became the fall guy in OKC when they got to the playoffs and had that early exit. But I think it's unfair to set this guy up. Jalen Rose said it perfectly. This was truly a setup. That's what it looks like. You bring him to a team where he's playing under a coach where he was playing under New York that it did not work out. And there was some animosity there.
Where were you a week ago? Tristan, hey, I hope you're still watching, baby, because where was he when I had 3 against 1?
I'm a big fan of Cam, so what I take away from that is I'm not happy to hear that they're on the outside looking in after a strong start this season. I'm a big fan of Cam.
That's my guy too.
Continue.
But yeah, so you had that situation happening. We knew that they were not going to be the same defensive team they were last year because they lost 2 of their top defenders. They lost Ariza offensively. I thought they were going to be. I thought it was going to work out if they had the same squad and just added Melo to that squad. But trying to throw him in there and expect him to be. I did something funny on my
which is a surprise.
Page
It's night and day. It's night and day from when they win the Super Bowl. What was that? 2-3 years ago now? And it doesn't look like we'll be getting back to those days anytime soon. Unfortunately.
Average 24 points a game, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and you keep it young. And be a lockdown defender, you keep it young. Because they knew that he's a prolific scorer. He's not a guy who's
you said lockdown. So basically, they knew what they were getting, and they did not get that guy, and now it's an issue.
And now you're blaming him for why the defense is looking bad. You're blaming him for why the scoring is out of whack. You can't put all of that on this man.
I was told that it was not okay to blame the teams that are acquiring Carmelo Anthony because they're looking for Carmelo Anthony to be something, and that he hasn't done it on the bench or off the bench.
Absolutely.
They're looking for something, this prolific thing that's supposed to make them this over the top.
Well, look, I'm just hoping that I don't know how much longer Flacco's going to be out, but let's say he's out for the next game and the game after that. I just hope that Lamar Jackson
and he
wins these next couple of games.
You called him an idiot.
What's he
for
saying?
Not going to Houston the first
What's he saying
time.
about Lamar?
But then he goes and he does it, and it's damn if you do, damn if you don't.
It makes sense because you saw the first game you saw the first game.
I was wrong for saying that.
You saw when in his debut when they played the Bengals, he rushed 26 times. And the only thing I didn't like was I felt like either he was overthinking or I guess I can blame that on the offensive coordinator because you can tell there were opportunities in this game, even though we came out with the win, that he could have ran. He could have rushed. He could have hit those holes and ran, but he was trying to be a pocket passer at certain points. Don't be a pocket passer, Lamar. Just be you. Just be you. That's all I want to see. I'm ready for a new era. I'm ready for a new era in terms of our quarterback and our coaching staff.
With every team that he's gone to and it has not worked out, you have not heard Carmelo Anthony say one thing bad. He has kept. You've seen him in the gym trying to get back to something. The hoodie's been up, but you have not seen him say anything or have anything to do with any type of talk. There has been no backlash. He's always been a professional, but this is a very unfortunate situation because in his veteranship, Carl, you do not want to see him go through this route. I firmly believe, and I don't care if I'm the last one standing believing in this, that there's somewhere Carmelo Anthony can go. He is our generation's Allen Iverson weighing in himself, saying that he does not think that Carmelo's career is over. And this is a guy that we wanted to embrace veteranship.
I said this is just he posted a picture on Instagram.
I hope so, but what scares me is that I'm hearing that Flacco could be back as soon as tomorrow. So if that's the case, I hope that they're careful with what they do with Lamar Jackson because right now you have the fans behind him, you have Baltimore behind him. That's a 2-game winning streak. We're 6-5. We're at the bottom of the playoff picture right now. Looking at that wild card game. One loss could cost us. So if they bring Flacco back and he gets a loss because he's not 100%,
they still could not beat the Wizards.
It's going to be a problem.
The other real issue in Houston, as they say, the Rockets can't hit a shot.
I really believe that Joe Flacco
ranking dead last in field goal percentage. Paul is by far the worst shooting season of his career. Nobody's talking about that, and then they needed somebody to play into this whole thing and take the blame for when he got
I think the Ravens have a history of that, especially in this John Harbaugh era. Don't get me wrong, I like John Harbaugh. We have a Super Bowl with him as a head coach, but I think that that's just a pattern. That's what they do. I mean, even I saw the post game interview. He didn't even want to even address the questions about Lamar Jackson and Flacco if Flacco comes back.
Last season, excuse me. He missed more shots
which
on ISO.
Should be in question.
51.
I don't like to speak on people's
46,
jobs, but
Dallas 45, Miami 41.
I know, but I just think the Ravens need to go into a different direction. It's about that time. It's been 2012 we won. Since then we've been to playoffs one time. So I think it's time for a change.
That hardly had nothing to do with the Carmelo Anthony. Okay, but I understand. After hearing this, how do you feel about Melo in Houston now? At age 34, 35. Well, at age 34, because Melo will be 35 in May. And, I mean, let's be real. The man has... He has some weight on his shoulders. Look at the career he's played. He's 34. He will be 35 in May. Anthony is already older than plenty of the Hall of Famers who hung it up. Tracy McGrady, George Gervin, Isaiah Thomas, James Worthy come to mind. Every Hall of Famer reaches a point in their career where they just can't hang. Melo, unfortunately, looking at that role. Not to mention how much he's been put under over the years. I mean, the knowledge on this guy is tremendous. He's already logged more career minutes than guys who played in their 40s, such as Steve Nash, Dikembe Mutombo, Juwan Howard.
Oh yeah,
Some would say
you already know.
Not
I'm
even
happy about
worthy of a
that.
roster spot. Definitely not the high volume shooter he once was. Lowest assist rates in NBA history for a non-center.
Yeah, you know,
breaking down all of this.
Was
Carmelo the reason that Houston is moving?
I like that breakdown, by the way.
Oh man, you know I thoroughly went. He was coming.
Ready.
I just view.
Ready.
I don't even. I'm just happy to see that they just lost. And you know, Le'Veon. They need Le'Veon Bell, and I'm happy to. I hope they continue to lose because I did not like the way that his teammates did not galvanize around him during all of this controversy. So I don't care what happens with them as long as the Ravens have a chance to get to the playoffs. I'm not worried about the Steelers at all.
And we've seen what it's become.
I hope so.
It's not basketball anymore. It's not hero basketball anymore. It's not isolation.
It's not you and me. I'm the leader of this team.
Exactly.
Shots on my shoulder.
It's Golden State. We're gonna
where some
take
people say
5
he
guys
should
to
go.
get this done.
Please don't.
I would actually be fine with this because I'm Lakers fan all day. I would be fine with
the leather.
Putting him at the end of the
So
bench.
LeBron has to save him. So the only one that can save him is the guy. Let's be real. Everybody. We had this conversation before we went on air. When you think of Charles Barkley, America, 50 greatest player. When you think of Charles Barkley, you don't say he sucks. He didn't get a ring. You think of what he was not able to do. But one man, one name, one sound to Michael Jordan. I want to be like Mike. He could not be. Michael Jordan took a lot of championships from a lot of guys. I mean, there's a Karl Malone. There's John Stockton. Some say Hakeem Olajuwon went and got one, and Michael Jordan still was playing. There's a lot of things.
How you like that?
Michael Jordan stood a lot of people's ways. When you talk about Dan Marino,
that's final score. Kirk Cousins 29, 38, 22 yards, 3 touchdowns.
I mean, but you still do not say that he wasn't one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the game. Carmelo Anthony, one thing he has that none of these other guys have had, he has a collegiate. He won a title. And then he comes to the NBA. Talk about Chris Paul, LeBron James. Chris Bosh we put in that scenario. All Dwayne Wade, all guys.
Yeah, the bad man himself, like you just said, Aaron Rodgers. He's not looking like the bad man from early in the season. I think they're on the outside of the playoffs. Go ahead.
Say that he's a damnation to this generation. Unfortunately, because why can't we remember him as the most prolific scorer that ever left the game in this generation?
Okay,
just not
no secrecy there.
I'm
happy about that.
that same sentiment.
But we have to win, Lamar. We got to get this third win straight to keep this thing rolling.
Now continue.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah, the bad man. I'm a big fan of Aaron Rodgers, but he's not looking like the same guy who he was looking like in the beginning. I think in the beginning of the season they had a big win against Chicago, and he was looking like the same guy from years past. They're on the outside of the playoff picture right now. So not that it really, like I said, not that it really bothers me because I'm a Ravens fan.
Against the Lakers, he was wreaking havoc on my side. Well, maybe not wreaking havoc,
but I like Aaron Rodgers over Tom Brady, so I'm hoping for some better days.
Guy that never shunned away from physicality, but
yeah, when he got to New York, it didn't pan out with Amari Stoudemire, and then it became a situation where he didn't have help. So he had to be the value shooter. He had to be the main guy. And then they finally got KP. But by the time they got KP, I think that's when Melo was starting to decline those last couple years in New York. And he spent one too many years in New York. I think it's 8 years to be exact. But they just took too many miles off of him. So by the time he got to OKC, I think that he was a shell of himself.
So Carmelo Anthony's downfall is not that he is not a legitimate person in this league anymore, and it's unfortunate because
I must say I was able to catch some of this game, and I saw the full highlights. This Watson guy, I like this guy because I'm the type of person when it comes to a quarterback, I like a quarterback that can throw the ball and can get outside the pocket and run the ball too.
When you can pass the ball to numerous sources on your team, and anybody can have it. I mean, look what just happened with Draymond Green.
I know we almost there.
Last shot. I want to take it. These guys are fighting over it now. Of course you are. We have the Monstars together. Who's going to fight over that last shot?
The Skins.
It's an isolation.
Speaking of DC, time to get into some NBA.
Oh, let's talk some NBA.
What you really want to talk about? The Washington Wizards, America, unless you've been sitting under a rock, you've seen the dysfunction over the last... This whole season.
8-12. 8-12.
As of last week, the organization was willing to blow up the entire team. That means John Wall and Bradley Beal were going to be shipped out. They were available for a trade. The fight updates, in case you've missed any of the turmoil going on. Austin Rivers and Bradley Beal get into a verbal altercation. Jeff Green and John Wall getting into it, which led to Scott Brooks having to intervene and John Wall saying words that you don't say when you like a person, because when you give the middle finger, this is what you tell them. So he told Scott Brooks that. Bradley Beal gets into a heated discussion, taking aim at Wizards officials, including Ernie Grunsfield. I've been dealing with this crap, for lack of better words, for 7 years. It starts top to down. Kelly Oubre Jr., who knew he could say anything, pretty boy could speak. He hurled some words that you don't.
Expletive.
Yeah, you know, those things. If you want to use big words and we have a vocabulary and we passed our SATs. Scott Brooks is getting all his fire. But he's yelling and shouting at Scott Brooks as emotion and frustrations were running high. Dysfunction. They should be called the dysfunctional Wizards. Blow it up, they say.
All of this dysfunction, and somehow they still managed to hold off the Houston Rockets last night. James Harden had 54 and 13 last night. You know what? I'm surprised because I made the predictions prior to. I always make predictions about the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference prior to the season. The Wizards have always been, underachievers, but did I expect them to be under 500 right now? At this point in the game, especially with the East, has always, to me, has been the weaker conference out of the two. I did not expect that, but obviously we know from last year, John Wall and Bradley Beal is still not. It's something about them that doesn't mesh. Them acquiring Dwight Howard, he's been out for most of the season. So that hasn't really panned out.
What the hell was he supposed to do anyway?
I mean, something.
Please continue.
But yeah, I'm.
God forbid what's going on in his personal life. Nah, I think he still wants to stay out of the private life. We're not going to get into that, America.
Was he on the bench last night? Or was he? He's probably in hiding. He might have been. I don't know if he was on the bench last night. But yeah, I'm just surprised. I mean, this is, to me, with LeBron out of the East, this is the perfect time for a backcourt like Bradley Beal and John Wall to take advantage of this. The only thing I'll say is this: I hope that they're talking about blowing up their team. I don't want Bradley Beal on the Lakers because that's the one team that seems to be in the trade rumors for him. I don't really want him with the Lakers. I want to keep the young guys. Try to get someone in the offseason.
It's funny funny because 2-3 years ago we were talking about a Wizards team where, and it's funny because John Wall just became. It's funny to use John Wall and Merge because he's been around for so long, but everybody was starting to pay attention to John Wall, the leader that he was, the speed. Everybody knew who he was. Now everybody knew who the Wizards were. You're talking about a top 3 team in the East. I was pissed off they couldn't win on the road in the playoffs.
I know.
I mean, they were gassed out. I mean, Scott Brooks seemed to be the coach. I mean, everybody tends to forget. You're talking about Kevin Durant, you're talking about Russell Westbrook. Yes, we would not have known what they could do together if it wasn't for Scott Brooks. The only thing with Scott Brooks is that his uncanny ability not to be able to bring in the rest of the guys. He can build a superstar tandem, but he can't bring in the rest of the guys. He can't complete a team aspect. But we would. Then you talk about the Wizards last year. Are you an elite team? Or are you not? Are you in? Or are you out? Make those statement games. Make those statements and do. Now we're talking about a team that is not even in any conversations anymore. And this is when LeBron was there. You're going into Cleveland. You're playing LeBron. You're owning the games. And now we're looking at DC like this, and it's very unfortunate. Where Bradley Beal doesn't go to the Lakers, but where do we put John Wall if we ship him out? Are we totally rebuilding this whole organization? Ernie Grunfeld. How much blame do we give him? It's totally all of it. But how much do we give him?
If I'm the Wizards, I still don't want to give up on John Wall just yet. You saw what he did last night. He dropped 36. He's still a guy who's capable of playing that way. In terms of Bradley Beal, great player. Yes. I like Bradley Beal, but I just think that he's replaceable. I think he's more replaceable than John Wall at this particular point. But if I'm the Wizards, I'm not just going to blow up the entire team. John Wall's that one piece I'm still going to hold on to and just hope that he can be a little bit more consistent. But the problem with the Wizards is throughout that dysfunction, they can still come out and play the way they did last night. They just can't do it consistently. That's the problem.
Stars don't want to come to the Wizards. I mean, they had that Kevin Durant hype a couple years ago.
Yeah, coming back home. Stars are not appealing. Boogie, that did not happen. They do not want to come to DC. It's not appealing because they're not winning. I mean, to be quite honest, there's a lot of Chiefs on this team, not a lot of Indians. I, for one, was a fan of the whole Paul Pierce thing. I don't know why you decided to commit career suicide and do what you did and not stay in DC. I thought he was a good fit for DC. Yep.
They needed somebody to tell them, no, sit down. We get that. I've been here before. Shut up, sit down, and I can tell you how to do this. Nobody wants to come to D.C. They're not going to want to come into D.C. until this turmoil gets rectified. What does this mean for the trades situations going down? And will even a veteran want to come and play in D.C. and deal with all of this?
Well, that's the problem. That's a great point you just brought up, because I was going to say they need veteran leadership, but like you said, this situation is so dysfunctional. It's not appealing to a veteran right now. And then in terms of Scott Brooks too, it looks like he's losing the locker room. Unfortunately, as a coach, once you lose the locker room, things are really about to go downhill. So,
John Wall is not a leader. John Wall is not worth $38-40 million a year. Stephen A. Smith says, hell no. Do you, America?
Do we believe that John Wall is not worth? Like I said, he's.
And let us regale the tale. They paid Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal. What's that doll that every time you kick it, it gets hurt?
What are you? I'm trying to think of. I know it's on the tip of my tongue. I'm trying to think of the name.
Practically Ben.
You talking about Bradley Beal?
Yes. Who knew he could play a full season? They paid him before they played John Wall, but $38-40 million. Stephen A. says, no, he's not worth that.
Stephen A. might actually have a point. He really might actually have a point. But the problem is, if you blow the team up, what's the rebuilding stage? What is the rebuilding stage going to look like for the Washington Wizards? Do you want to get things so bad where you're at the bottom of the East for consecutive years? Or who are you going to get for these two guys?
Somebody has to stay.
I mean, get rid of Bradley Beal, but I think you should keep John Wall, because as a point guard, he's still one of the fastest point guards in the league. He's, like I said, he's still capable of coming out there and giving you 30-plus and 10-plus assists. He still has that. And I think that he's just comfortable in D.C. I think D.C. is his home. But in terms of Bradley Beal, like I said, great player, but I think you need a more accomplished all-star, or even potentially a superstar to throw in there with John Wall to get something done. But they need other pieces too. It's not just those two guys. They need some other pieces. Like you said, bringing Dwight Howard, what did that accomplish? Bringing Austin Rivers over, getting rid of Gortat, what did that accomplish?
I wish we had the other Morris twin, because
the one in Boston.
That ankle injury, it took something out of him.
The one in Boston's on my NBA fantasy team. He's looking pretty good, so I would take him. He's helping me out.
Thank you for adding to that. I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save this one, but so we're gonna move past it. I'm gonna save the best one.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about. We want to talk about something that's going on in the West. Well, not really the West. A guy that used to play in the West. Greg Popovich making headlines. Kawhi Leonard was a great player, but he wasn't a leader. Kawhi Leonard answers America. It's just funny to me. I guess when you stop playing, they tend to forget how you lead. January 3rd, the Raptors and Spurs will play.
Can't wait.
Is this something that the media is starting to blow out of proportion, or do we know what we're dealing with when it comes to Kawhi Leonard and Greg Popovich? This will be a rivalry of minimalism, and this will be silence. There will be nothing up about it. This is not nothing to look forward to, or is it?
I don't think you can even call this a rivalry between these two guys, because Greg Pop is, he's going to be politically correct when it comes to talking about Kawhi. Now, you might, if you're in the media, you might not want to interview him on the average day, on a typical day. But Kawhi is not going to be combative. Look at what his response was to what Greg Pop said. He laughed. And that chuckle was horrible too. But yeah, I mean. And you know what? We were talking about it before the show, and I went and read.
A lot of stuff
we did. And when I read the quote, I didn't really see a major problem with it, because that's how I felt about Kawhi watching him in San Antonio. Amazing player, arguably one of the top 3 players in the league when he's healthy, but he's not a vocal guy.
Neither was Tim Duncan.
Neither was Tim. Yeah, but
falls into the Spurs.
That's true. That's a good point. Even though I still feel like Tim Duncan was a little. You did. And I did feel like he was a little bit more vocal than Kawhi. I don't even know how Kawhi sounds when he speaks, because I hardly hear him talk.
You heard when he laughed?
I heard when he laughs though. I heard that laugh.
This did not end on good terms, though. I mean, we thought he was injured for so long. Then we come to find out that he wasn't happy in San Antonio.
Exactly.
Then they all decide to leave. Then he decides to get traded. He did not want to go to the Raptors. But the Raptors.
But it's looking best team in the league right now, record wise.
And so this is shaping up not to be headlining news before. This is the first game into the new year that we're going to see.
Oh no, it's gonna, because the media is the way the media is. It's going to be headlining news, but I think that's gonna die down after January 3rd. But I'm looking forward to the game. I wonder if they're going to greet each other. We'll see.
Interesting.
Oh.
Another guy that wasn't happy where he was. First of all, America, I would like to say hello. If you're just tuning in, you're tuned into your favorite sports podcast. This is episode 54. The Brian Urlacher edition. Make sure you leave those comments below. Jay Gibson, I see you, baby. Tristan, my co-host, you're still heavy around here. We see you too. Everybody that says hi, family, friends, hello. Let's get this show continually on the road. All right, so everybody wants to win. I mean, when somebody messes up, you talk to them. They don't take it personal, and they do their job. I don't know what Jimmy Butler wants to create for his NBA career. It's like an episode of Cheers or something, Kumbaya. I don't know what he's looking for here, but he's looking to the process. He says that this may be the place where I can see this being home. Will Jimmy fly in Philly?
For his sake, I hope so, because it didn't pan out in Chicago. Even though he was great in Chicago, it didn't pan out. And then him in Minnesota, that whole situation got kind of ugly. But with him being back in the East, being with the process, being in Philly, I think that him being with Ben Simmons and being with Joel Embiid, this is young talent, and these guys are hungry. I think that this could be a good landing spot for him, but it's going to take some time. He's only been on the team for, I guess, a few weeks now, so it's still going to take some time. I know they lost to Cleveland, and Cleveland's been compared to Duke. Could Duke beat Cleveland? That's been a headliner, so that's not good. That's not good. Oh my gosh, he's delusional. That guy's delusional.
Joel Embiid, one guy that's not too shabby on words he did.
Yeah. But you know what? I would say this: Joel Embiid needs to remain healthy if they're going to get something done. That's been the problem. His health has been inconsistent. I'm not worried about Ben Simmons. He does need to develop a jump shot, but I like Ben Simmons' game a lot.
So we're not waiting too long for this process because the process. How long we gotta do to get in the process? Are we in something that's going to be something? Are we staying in it? Because after a while, the process needs to be a decision, and then the decision needs to be something that's winning. We don't want to be in developmental stages. We're not crawling anymore.
I mean, I think at this point, they should be looking to try to maybe beef up their bench. But I think in terms of having Jimmy Butler, a guy who's turning into a veteran at this point, a very hard worker, you can't teach that type of heart, determination, and tenacity. And then having a Ben Simmons, a baby LeBron, I might get flack for that. And then having a Joel, a baby LeBron, Ben Simmons, I'll get flack.
LeBron James loves him some Ben Simmons. I think if you're endorsed by LeBron James, I think everybody should pay attention.
Exactly, but having those two guys and then Joel Embiid, I think this is the perfect time for them to make a run. Boston's not looking good; they're looking shaky. I think they're just 11-10, so they're looking pretty shaky. So really, you just have Toronto to worry about. And in Milwaukee, I don't truly believe in that yet. They're looking good, but I don't believe yet. So I think this is the time for them to stop making excuses and try to make a push.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about
hometown boy, but he looks like his time in Philly is coming to an end.
So explain something to me about Markelle. Did he get injured, or is he just now? I need to take a look at my shoulder. Have specialists.
Now the shoulder is coming about
in the wrist.
And now it's something to pay attention to. But they're feeling as though Markelle Fultz's departure is time.
I mean, hey.
Bench you want?
Yeah.
You may get if you. But where do you ship Markelle Fultz? Who do you pick up? Who do you want to pick up?
That's a good question. I guess it's going to really depend on negotiations, because who wants a team right now that's looking to gain some talent. Markelle Fultz has talent, but right now I think it's very mental for him. He's lacking something up here when it comes to his shot, when it comes to his scoring ability. He's not looking like the same guy who came into the league, the same guy they drafted. So I'm hearing, I'm reading and hearing that this guy is going to be going to be speaking to multiple specialists, shoulder specialists this week. So who knows when he'll be playing? Now it's the shoulder, and they're talking about the wrist.
Oh, man. So you just had multiple injuries that you were just keeping under wraps and wasn't telling nobody. Okay.
But if I'm Philly, look, this is not like the Lakers and Lonzo Ball situation. If I'm the Lakers, I'm keeping Ball right now. Markelle Fultz, he's not showing us really anything. So it's time to get something for him if you can.
I want to ask this question, and you've made a statement earlier. The East is wide open.
It's wide open.
Wide open as it is. Who the hell's going to the championship?
Right now, it's looking like Toronto. My prediction was Toronto and Boston in the conference finals. Right now, Boston doesn't even look like they even know what their identity is. They need
talk about a veteran they might want to look at shortly.
They need a veteran, and I think that it's time for them also to say bye-bye to Gordon Hayward. The problem is last year they had Kyrie. Kyrie played for a good chunk of the season, then he was out, right? At least you know what the team looks like with him in the fold, and that's Kyrie. But having a guy like Hayward, who you really didn't know what it was going to look like when he came back, he less than 5 minutes.
He took his warm-up off
and was hurt. And right now, the only thing I don't like is they're taking touches away from Rozier and they're taking touches away from Jason Tatum. And last year, those are two guys. Yeah, based on the way they were playing in the playoffs last year.
Okay, America, so unless you've been living under a rock, you're not immune to all this Carmelo Anthony talk. Oh, God forbid we continue this ongoing conversation. We all know last show they had me on here looking like Michael Irvin, sweating. I will defend Carmelo Anthony to the death of it. I don't know why this will not work. But we're in the headlines again this time around because there's little birdies floating around that Melo may not be the only problem in Houston land. That he was not the only problem. That shipping him off may have been the scapegoat to it, but he was not the only problem. Okay, let's look at it this way, shall we? America, you like numbers, right? So I did some research for you, okay? The Rockets' offense has been, how do you feel about it?
It's been mediocre at best.
Mediocre, some call it horrendous.
Yeah.
Anthony did not ruin James Harden and Chris Paul's tag team offense. The Rockets decided to try to separate Anthony from the star duo. He played with Paul and Harden on just 37 of his 294 minutes in his time there. A tiny portion of that, just 12%. Last season, the Thunder tried something a little bit more inclusive when he was in Oklahoma City, putting Anthony next to Westbrook and Paul George for 1,976 of his 2,501 minutes. That was 80% of action. Paul refers to, we all know about the banana boats. And, they putting him and, they all grew up together, AAU, LeBron, they're all brothers. LeBron James, Damian Lillard, guys coming to the aid on Twitter when Anthony was let go from Houston.
Wade,
they refer to each other as brothers. However, Carl, they hardly played together this season. In the short time together, Paul and Anthony had shared the court. The defense was funny, as we all know.
Yeah.
But the offense has actually been more productive than Harden and Paul without Anthony. With Harden and Paul on the court together, the Rockets are scoring 104.3 points per 100 possessions this season. I gave y'all some numbers, baby. Then last season, that figure was 117 per NBA.com stats. Again, that cannot be pinned on Anthony.
But it was, you're absolute.
I got more.
Yeah, you want to? Okay. Because you were throwing out the numbers. You were throwing out those numbers. I was just gonna say that you're absolutely right. It cannot be all pinned on Anthony. He has become the fall guy. I feel like he became the fall guy in OKC when they got to the playoffs and had that early exit. But I think it's unfair to set this guy up. Jalen Rose said it perfectly. This was truly a setup. That's what it looks like. You bring him to a team where he's playing under a coach where he was playing under in New York that it did not work out, and there was some animosity there. You guys were talking about this?
Tristan, hey, I hope you're still watching, baby, because where was he when I had 3 against 1. I'm going to hold my own, though. They don't care me. But where were you? Continue, please. You're speaking to
I should have been here. I should have been at the height of the Mellow Talk, because that's my guy, too. But yeah, so you had that situation happening. We knew that they were not going to be the same defensive team they were last year because they lost 2 of their top defenders. They lost Ariza offensively. I thought they were going to be – I thought it was going to work out if they had the same squad and just added Melo to that squad. But trying to throw him in there and expect him to be – I did something funny on my intern media page after they let him go. And I pretty much said on my intern media talk segment, I said, basically, what they called Melo into the office and said, look, Melo, all you have to do is average 24 points a game, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and you can keep your job. And be a lockdown defender, you can keep your job. Because they knew that he's a prolific scorer. He's not a guy who's going to grab.
So basically, they knew what they were getting.
Exactly.
And they did not get that guy, and now
exactly. And now you're blaming him for why the defense is looking bad, and you're blaming him for why the scoring is out of whack. You can't put all of that on this man.
I was told that it was not okay to blame the teams that are acquiring Carmelo Anthony because they're looking for Carmelo Anthony to be something, and that he hasn't done it on the bench or off the bench. They're looking for something, this prolific thing that's supposed to make them this over-the-top championship team. Because, let's be real. All of us want Carmelo Anthony to get a ring.
Yep.
We all know that. These super teams that you wanted him to get to after he left New York the first time, and he never went to, and he wanted to stand alone. You called him idiot. You called him an idiot for not going to Houston the first time. But then he goes and he does it, and it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yep.
But I was told that I was wrong for saying that these squads were taking Carmelo Anthony, expecting to be something. We all know that Carmelo Anthony can't play no defense. We all know Carmelo Anthony is isolation. We all know that he's scorer. We all know these are things that have prevailed his whole career. So why is everyone trying to be seen shocked when he's being who he is? And if anything, he's been had an out-of-body experience because he's tried to be off the bench. He's tried to be something that he isn't.
True professional, too. True
and he
professional.
has talked, and with every team that he's gone to and it has not worked out, you have not heard Carmelo Anthony say one thing bad. He has kept. You've seen him in the gym trying to get back to something. The hoodie's been up, but you have not seen him say anything or have anything to do with any type of talk. There has been no backlash. He's always been a professional, but this is a very unfortunate situation because in his veteranship, Carl, You do not want to see him go through this route. I firmly believe, and I don't care if I'm the last one standing believing in this, that there's somewhere Carmelo Anthony can go. He is our generation's Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson weighing in himself, saying that he does not think that Carmelo's career is over. And this is a guy that we wanted to embrace veteranship.
Yeah, I said this is just he posted a picture on Instagram with the two in Denver and said this is just another obstacle, just another chapter.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, I hate to see a guy who's a future Hall of Famer. No one's going to debate that and negate that, but I hate to see a guy who's a future Hall of Famer, 16 seasons in, still has something left in the tank, as you alluded to, and it's looking like he's not going to be able to go out on his own terms. I hate that.
James Harden, we know, 54 points, 8 rebounds, 13 assists. They still could not beat the Wizards. The other real issue in Houston, as they say, the Rockets can't hit a shot. Ranking dead last in field goal percentage, Paul is having by far the worst shooting season of his career.
No one's talking about that.
Nobody's talking about that. And then they needed somebody to play into this whole thing and take the blame for when he got suspended and all this extra stuff. Harden himself, while James Harden is shooting just 39.3% on 11.7 isolations per game. I had some numbers for you, America. Down from his 44.3% conversion rate last season, He missed more shots on ISOs, 51, than Orlando, 46, Dallas, 45, Miami, 41, and Philadelphia, 32 have taken. The Rockets' offense has sunk to 23rd in the NBA. This is a James Harden-led Chris Paul team. That hardly had nothing to do with the Carmelo Anthony. Okay, but I understand. After hearing this, how do you feel about Melo in Houston now? At age 34, 35. Well, at age 34, because Melo will be 35 in May.
Okay.
And, I mean, let's be real. The man has... He has some weight on his shoulders. Look at the career he's played. He's 34. He will be 35 in May. Anthony is already older than plenty of the Hall of Famers who hung it up. Tracy McGrady, George Gervin, Isaiah Thomas, James Worthy come to mind. Every Hall of Famer reaches a point in their career where they just can't hang. Melo, unfortunately, looking at that role. Not to mention how much he's been put under over the years. I mean, the mileage on this guy is tremendous. He's already logged more career minutes than guys who played in their 40s, such as Steve Nash, Dikembe Mutombo, Juwan Howard. Some would say he's washed, not even worthy of a roster spot. Definitely not the high-volume shooter he once was. Lowest assist rates in NBA history for a non-center.
Yeah, you know.
Breaking down all of this.
And I like that breakdown, by the way.
Oh man, you know I thoroughly went.
She came ready. She came ready. Look, Melo, and I agree with the sentiments you just laid out. Everything you just laid out. With Melo, the problem is, and it pains me to say this, because I'm a true Melo fan. But when this is what happens when the NBA evolves, and we've seen what it's become. It's not ball stopping anymore. It's not hero basketball anymore. It's not isolation.
It's not you and me. I'm the leader of this team.
Exactly.
Shots on my shoulder.
It's Golden State. It's we're gonna take 5 guys to get this done.
Please don't.
I would actually be fine with this, because I'm Lakers fan all day. I would be fine with grabbing Melo, putting him at the end of the bench, and calling his number when we need him.
So the only one that can save him is the guy. Let's be real. Everybody. We had this conversation before we went on air. When you think of Charles Barkley, America, 50 greatest players, you think of Charles Barkley, you don't say he sucks, he didn't get a ring.
No, you don't.
You think of what he was not able to do.
Yep.
But one man, one name, one sound to Michael Jordan. I want to be like Mike. He could not be. Michael Jordan took a lot of championships from a lot of guys. I mean, there's Karl Malone. There's John Stockton. Some say Hakeem Olajuwon got one, and Michael Jordan still playing. There's a lot of things. Michael Jordan stood a lot of people's ways. When you talk about Dan Marino,
I mean, but you still do not say that he wasn't one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Carmelo Anthony, one thing he has that none of these other guys have had, he has a collegiate. He won a title. And then he comes to the NBA. Talk about Chris Paul, LeBron James. Chris Bosh, we put in that scenario. All Dwayne Wade, all guys that have won a chip, but eventually joined each other to get more.
In their prime.
Carmelo did not do that. And we look at Carmelo Anthony and say that he's a damnation to this generation. Unfortunately, because why can't we remember him as the most prolific scorer that ever left the game in this generation, just not in the ring? Why can't we remember him in that same sentiment? And then we talk about him, and what's become unfortunate, we talk about him, and it's a setup. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that one of the biggest mistakes he made in his career, and I know he loves New York, and he's very loyal to New York. If he would have remained in Denver somehow, and still because in Denver they were having some winning seasons, right? Yes. They weren't going to the championship, but they did get to the conference finals against the Lakers. He was wreaking havoc on my guy Kobe, and well, maybe not wreaking havoc, but he was giving the Lakers problems.
Kobe put him in there and said he loved playing against Melo. Guy that never shunned away from physicality, but
yeah, when he got to New York, it didn't pan out with Amari Stoudemire, and then it became a situation where he didn't have help, so he had to be the volume shooter. He had to be the main guy. And then they finally got KP, but by the time they got KP, I think that's when Melo was starting to decline those last couple of years in New York. And he spent one too many years in New York. I think it's 8 years to be exact. But they just took too many miles off of him. So by the time he got to OKC, I think that he was a shell of himself.
So Carmelo Anthony's downfall is not that he is not a legitimate person in this league anymore, and it's unfortunate because that isolation, it takes a lot to be the guy that wants to take that last shot.
Yep,
he's
that guy.
To have it fall on your shoulders. I don't care what happens, it falls on me whether we win or we lose it, and to take that pressure. A lot of guys are not willing to do that these days. You can pass the ball to numerous sources on your team, and anybody can have it. I mean, look what just happened with Draymond Green and Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Who's going to take the last shot? I want to take it. These guys are fighting over it now. Of course you are. When you have the Monstars together, who's going to fight over that last shot? But it's an isolation, that pick and pop, that coming around the pick and roll that's not in this league anymore. However, it's not that Carmelo Anthony is not someone that could be a legitimate person in this league any longer. The unfortunate matter is Carmelo Anthony has not been a guy that has been able to move on gracefully from point to point and know when it's time.
Exactly. And you know what? To add to that, I think that shows just in where his mind was when he went to OKC and they asked him about coming off the bench, and he laughed. But you see the tune has changed when he got to Houston. I think that even though he's trying to accept this new role, he might say he's accepting the new role, but in his mind, though, he's still thinking about, I'm Hall of Famer. I'm the guy that was scoring champion. I'm this, I'm that. And I think that's one of the things that's holding him back. So he might not look. It's unfortunate, but Melo might not be the guy who can now reinvent himself this late in the game, especially at a point where his body hurts. You know, he's not moving around. He's not able to even run the floor like he used to. Like I don't think he was ever able to really run the floor like the guys are now. But especially in this league, when you have the Golden States,
he's a half-court guy.
He's a half-court guy. Post up, spot up, yeah.
We're having this conversation, and people are going because I'm having a moment where, as much as I've defended this, because I refuse to believe that it's over. It's not over to the fat lady sings. And who are we? It's easy for us to tell somebody when somebody else's career. But who are we? If tomorrow's breaking news is Carmelo Anthony decides to retire, he retires under this wave and what everybody wants to do and this pushing out concept and everything like that. How do you take it? Oh my God.
I will hate that if that happens. But unfortunately, it wouldn't happen that soon. But we'll know something based on when the trade deadline gets here, and if he's not on the team by then the Melo fan, the diehard Melo fans can start to panic a little bit. He'll still be a Hall of Famer, maybe not as soon as he would have been if he went out on his own terms, because you know how people galvanize around the media and the headlines and social media. But I think one thing you brought up about the Charles Barkley comparison, I would hope that he could be remembered more of like a Charles Barkley, a great player without a ring instead of just that guy that never got it done.
One person can make an impact.
Carmelo, how your people call my people, please? Because I would love to have this conversation. How do you think he's doing?
The interview was a very good interview, and it was.
I don't think he's doing well. I don't think he's doing well because he loves the game. He loves the game, and you can tell just from hearing from him that he really thinks that he still has a lot left. So for everyone to be saying that it's time for you to do your farewell tour or to retire, that's gotta hurt.
You can't even do a farewell.
He's not even on the team. Well, he's technically on the Houston Rockets roster, but just not in a uniform playing.
$255 million this man has made in his career, Listen, tell me how you make your deals because we got something to talk about when it comes to Rollin Ramos. Anyways, people, if you have been tuning in, episode 54, the Brian Urlacher edition, and we have come to the unfortunate.
Sad. I had a great time.
Tell the people where they can find you. This great man of so much good stuff doing in sports. If you're talking about interviewing, this is your man. Those personal profile pieces, this is the guy.
Absolutely. And don't judge me about my NFL commentary. I'm an NBA guy all day, as you can see.
Well.
I did okay though. That was a serious rundown. You a beast.
Thank you.
You're beast mode. Carl Nelson, the CEO, the founder of Intern Media. You can follow me on Instagram at intern_media. You can follow me on Facebook, Carl Nelson. That's with a K, Karl Nelson. You can follow me on Twitter, KPNEL2. Yeah, at KPNEL2. You can follow me on Twitter. But please follow me on that Instagram page. And check out my WordPress as well.
Make sure you follow us, people. If you want to follow little old me, you can follow me here on Facebook at Mikell Ramos. I am on Instagram at Mikell Sade, MYKELLSADE, just like the singer. One word. Thanks, Mom, for that one. You can also follow Rollin with Ramos. Follow us on Instagram at Rollin with Ramos. Follow us on Twitter at Roll with Ramos, and you can follow us on Facebook as well, too. Episode 55 next week, people. We pay homage to a defensive mind gone too soon, and if you don't believe that mental illness in this country is something that you should not sweep under the rug and that you should not pay attention to, we all love the game of football, but it has its repercussions, and it took a guy that we all loved that had such an effervescent personality, but we pay homage to him next week. Episode 55, the Junior Seau edition. Will be next week. America, until next time. I'm going to say it like I say it every week, and I don't care if it does not rhyme me, it's still mine. I am Mikell, like Kevin McHale. Tristan, I miss you, brother. I hope you come back to me next week. I'm nothing without you, my right-hand man. Peace, America. Great show.
Landry playing a huge role. Again, a light schedule down
the
stretch.
That was good, man. You are
Landry, a guy.
I am sick too. So.
I think
because you're really great in terms of being able to go from start to finish. And thank you. You carried me too in the NFL. I appreciate that.
Well, you told me. I carried you a little bit, but at least you didn't sit there and do nothing.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't gonna do that. I did do. I was gonna say that's why I made sure I did some.
That's what I was trying to tell you. It's not like interview. I kind of go straight in. We talk about the topics in between.
Absolutely. Now I was trying to just kind of feed off of some of your commentary and,
you did.
And keep it fun.
You did.
So,
I'm mad you weren't able to come in with my calls, but it is what it is.
And I appreciate it. I guess I'm now gonna have to at some point return the favor and do something on you.
Hey, listen,
something we can talk about you.
I would love to come to New York. I love it.
Oh yeah, hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah, I love it.
But we'll definitely talk
they owe
because
me $60 because my bus was because when I try to be cheap, I catch the boat bus.
You said they owe you $60?
I catch the boat bus to New York and I get on the Metro North and then.
Okay.
But the bus was delayed 2 hours, so they.
Oh, so you just took the bus up for Thanksgiving?
$60, so I'm waiting on my shit.
Oh, true. Oh, they're terrible.